Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. I have combined all the videos in our animated sidebar design series into this single long video so that it's easy for you to follow. Now in this video, we're going to design this animated sidebar from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And this is also completely responsive. So if I go to the mobile version, this is how it will look on a mobile screen. And we have this arrow over here. And if I click on that, we have the sidebar displayed over here. And if I click on it once again, it goes back. So this is the mobile version. So we're going to design all of this from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript in this video. And I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. In the end, I will also show you how to add this design to your Blogger website. So let's get started. So here we can see on the left side, we have this sidebar. And if I hover over this, we have the animation for all the elements inside the sidebar. So these are basically links. So you can add the link of any page over here and the user will be taken to that link when they click on these links. Right here, I have created this folder called animated sidebar and I just opened it with VS Code. Now let's go ahead and create the necessary files. So let's click on new file and let's create an HTML file and I'll just name it index.html. Now let's create a CSS file. I'll just name it style.css. And let's also create a JavaScript file. I'll just name it main.js. Right now, let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code, you can just press exclamation and press tab and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. But let's link our CSS file over here. So I'll just type link and press tab. And here in the href, I'll just type style.css. And in the body, let's type script :src and press tab. And here I'll just type main.js. So we have linked our CSS and our JavaScript files. Right now, let's start with the HTML of our design. So the first thing I will do is I'll just create a container division. So we'll just create a division with the class of custom sidebar. Right now in this, the first thing we need to do is create this logo. So for that, let's create a division with the class of logo. And here I'll just type lb dot. So this is our logo. And I'll just open this in the browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you install that, you can just right click over here and click on Open with Live Server. And here we can see our design is being displayed and we have the logo displayed over here. But now let's go ahead and create a division with the class of menu. And in this division, we need to have this title. So for that, I'll just create a division with the class of menu title. And here I'll just type menu. Now in this, we need to have different menu items. So we need to have the icon and the text over here. So for that, let's create an anchor tag. And we can add the link of our pages over here. So I'll just type hash for now. And in this anchor tag, the first thing we need to have is the icon. So let's create a division with the class of icon. And in this, we will add the icon. And after the icon, we need to add the label. So let's create a division with the class of label. And here I'll just type home. So this is the first label. And here we can see we have the menu title and the home label displayed over here. All right, now let's go back and let's create the other one. So here we have settings, courses, and downloads. So let's add them over here. So just copy this and paste it down here 3 more times. And here we need to have settings, courses, and downloads. So let's type settings and courses. And here let's type downloads. And after this, we need to have this separator. And after that, we need to have another list of menus. So let's create another division with the class of menu. So here outside this division, let's create a division with the class of menu. And let's copy this anchor tag from here. And let's paste it over here 2 times. And before that, we need to have the menu title. So let's type menu title. And here we need to have the title as links. So let's type links. And here we need to have notifications and statistics. So let's type notifications. And here let's type statistics. Right now, let's go to our design. And here we can see all the elements are being displayed. Now let's add the icons. Now for the icons, we're going to use heroicons.com. Right here, I'm in heroicons.com and let's add the icons. So the first icon we need to have is for home. So let's just search for home. And here we have these icons. Let's just copy this first icon from here So you can just click on copy SVG. Let's go back and let's go to the icon division and let's paste the icon over here. Now if you go back, here we can see we have the home icon displayed. And the next thing we need to have is the settings icon. So let's just search for settings. And let's copy this icon from here. And let's paste it over here for the settings icon. And then we need to have courses and downloads. So let's go back and let's search for courses. And we don't have any search result for course. So I just search for something else. And here we have a cap. So let's search for cap. And here we have this cap icon. So let's copy the icon from here. So I'll just click on copy SVG. And let's paste it over here in courses. And lastly, we need to have downloads. So I'll just type download over here. We'll just copy this icon and let's paste it for the downloads icon. And then we have two more icons, one for notifications and the other for statistics. So here let's search for notification. And here we have the notification icon. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it over here. And then lastly, we have statistics. So I'll just type statistics. And here we have this icon. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it over here. So with that, we have added all the icons for our menus. Now let's go ahead and style this using CSS. So let's go to a style.css file, and this is how our page looks right now. So first of all, let's go ahead and resize the images or the icons so that all the elements are being displayed correctly. So let's go ahead and type custom sidebar. And in that we have this division with the class of menu, and in that we have this SVG. So I'll just type menu SVG. And let's set the height of the icons to 30 pixels. And now we can see all the icons have the correct height. Right now, let's go ahead and add a background color for the body. So here let's type body. Now for the background color, we will use linear gradient, and for that we will use a website called cssgradient.io. So you can just go to this website and generate some CSS gradients, and you can get the CSS code over here. And if you scroll up here, we have some generators. So if I just go over here to backgrounds, here we can see we have this gradient, and you can get a lot of different awesome linear gradient colors from here. So I'll just select one of these. I'll just select this one right here. So let's click on copy CSS. And let's go back to our CSS, and I'll just paste the CSS over here. And now let's go back to our website. And here we can see we have this linear gradient background color. Now here we can see we have some problems in the colors over here, but when we start styling this sidebar, it will be fixed. So we will set the position of the sidebar to fixed. So here let's type custom sidebar, and let's set the position to fixed. And now we can see that the color has been fixed. And now the sidebar is fixed over here to the left side at the top. So let's go ahead and set a background color. Let's set the background color to RGBA 255, 255, 255. And for the opacity, let's type 0.2. And we'll also set backdrop filter to blur, and let's set it to 10 pixels. Right now, let's go ahead and set the font family to Roboto and sans serif. And let's set the width of the element to 80 pixels. And let's set the top position to 24 pixels and the left position to 24 pixels as well. And let's add border radius. So I'll just type border radius, and I'll just set it to 10 pixels. And let's also add box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 8 pixels, 32 pixels, RGBA, 31, 38, 135, and for the opacity, let's type 0.4. And let's also type overflow to hidden so that anything outside the division is not being displayed. And let's also set the color of all the text. So I'll just type color, and let's set the value to 0, D1, B2A. Now we need to add the same color to these anchor tags as well. So let's go ahead and type custom sidebar menu, and in that we have anchor tags, and let's set the color to 0, D1B, 2A. Now first of all, let's style the logo. So for the logo, we have this division with the class of logo. So let's go ahead and select that. I'll just tap custom sidebar logo. And for the logo, let's set the font size to 30 pixels. And let's set the font weight to bold. And let's set a background color. And I have just copied some color from cssgradient.io and I'll just paste it over here. Alright, so here I have added the color. Right now let's color the text. So let's tap color. And for the text, let's type E63946. I think we can increase the font weight. So I'll just type 900 over here. And now let's add some padding. So I'll just tap padding. And let's set the values to 8 pixels top and bottom and 20 pixels left and right. So that's it with the logo. Right now let's style the menu. So here we can see we have these divisions with the class of menu. And in that we have these anchor tags. And we have one more division with the class of menu over here. So if we go back to our design, here we can see that for each of the menus we have this border. So let's style the menu. So here I'll just type custom sidebar menu. And let's set the border top to 1 pixel solid. And for the color, let's type RGBA 13, 27, 42 and 0.3 for the opacity. And now let's also add some padding. So let's type padding and let's set it to 16 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. And now if we go back here, we can see that we have this border top. And let's also set the display to flex and flex direction to column. And now let's add a gap and let's set it to 12 pixels. Right now let's style the menu title. So for that we have this division with the class of menu title. So let's target that. Just tap custom sidebar menu title and let's set the font size of the menu title to 14 pixels. And let's set the text transform to uppercase. And we'll set a margin of 8 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. And let's also add a padding of 0 for top and bottom and 20 pixels left and right. And now we can see that the menu title is styled correctly. Now when we hover over this sidebar, we need to increase the width of the sidebar. So here we can see when we hover over this, the width increases. So let's do that. So here for the sidebar, we have set the width to 80 pixels. So let's tap custom sidebar hover and here let's set the width to 300 pixels. And now we can see when we hover over this, the width changes. And let's also add smooth transition. So here for the custom sidebar, let's tap transition. And let's set the values to all 400 milliseconds. And for the easing, I'll just use a cubic Bezier. So I'll just tap cubic Bezier. And for the values, let's type 0.07, 0.88, 0.37, and 1.05. And now if we go back, now we can see that we have this smooth animation. And when you hover over this, we also want to move this menu title to the right a little bit. So here we can see that the menu title moves a little bit to the right. So let's do that. So here for the menu title, we have this class of menu title. So here I'll just type custom sidebar hover menu title and let's type padding and let's set the padding to 32 pixels because by default we have a padding of 20 pixels. And here also let's add a smooth transition. So here let's tap transition and let's set it to all 400 milliseconds and here I'll just type ease. And now we can see we have the animation for the menu title as well. Right now let's go ahead and style this anchor tag. So inside the anchor tag we have the icon and also the label. So we need to have these icons and labels one next to the other. So let's set the display of the anchor tag to flex. So here let's type custom sidebar menu A and let's set the display to flex and let's set a gap of 24 pixels. And we'll also align items to the center and we'll also remove the underlines. So let's tap text decoration and let's set it to none. And let's add a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom and 24 pixels left and right. And this is how it looks. Now when we hover over this, we need to have a background color. So here we can see we have this background color when we hover over this. So let's add that. Here I'll just type custom sidebar menu hover, and here let's add a background, and let's set it to RGBA 255 255 255 0.2, and we'll also add border radius of 10 pixels, and let's also add smooth transition. So I'll just type transition of all 500 milliseconds is, and let's go back, and this is how it looks. Right now, the next thing we will do is we will hide the labels when we are not hovering over this sidebar. So for that, let's go ahead and take a look at the label. So I don't think we have added the label. So let's go ahead and add some styles for the label. So just tap custom sidebar label, and by default, we will set the opacity to 0, and we'll set the pointer events to none so that we are not able to click on that. And we'll also set a transition of all 600 milliseconds is, and when we hover over the sidebar, we need to display the label. So here let's type custom sidebar hover label, and here let's type opacity and let's set it to 1, and let's set the pointer events to auto, and we'll also move it from the left to the right a little bit. So here let's type transform translate X, let's set it to negative 20 pixels, and here when we hover over this, let's type transform translate X 0, and now we can see that the animation is working all right. Right now when we hover over this, let's also add some margin to the left and the right. So here let's type custom sidebar hover menu A, and let's add a margin of 0 top and bottom and 24 pixels left and right, and this is how it looks. Everything looks all right. Now the last thing we need to do is we need to add a stagger effect. So if we go back to our original design, here we can see when you hover over this, all of these labels are animated one after the other. So we have a little bit of delay between the animations for each of the labels. Now for this, we need to add transition delay in CSS. So if you go back to our CSS, now here we need to select each of the labels, and we need to add transition delays of incrementing values. Now if you have a lot of elements, then it can be difficult and time consuming to add transition delay to all of them. So let's do that using JavaScript. So let's go to our JavaScript, and let's go ahead and select all the labels. So I'll just type const labels equals document.querySelector all, and let's type custom sidebar, and in that we have label. Now all the labels will be stored inside this constant labels. Now let's loop through all the labels. So let's type labels dot for each, and for each of the label I'll just call it label, and let's create an arrow function over here, and here let's go ahead and type label dot style dot transition delay. Now here we need to add different delays for each of the elements. So for the first element we will have a delay of 0, and then for the second element we will have a delay of 50 milliseconds, and for the third one we will have a delay of 100 milliseconds, and so on. So we will have an increment of 50 milliseconds. Now if you go ahead and type 50 milliseconds over here, then it will add the same transition delay to all the elements. Now we don't want to have that. We need to have different transition delay values. So for that we need to access the index of the labels. So here in the arguments list, we can also add the index. So here I'll just type index. You can call this anything you want. And here we need to type $symbol curly braces. And here we will add the index variable times 50 milliseconds. So now what this will do is that it will give a transition delay of 0 for the first element, because for the first element we will have an index of 0. So 0 times 50 is 0. And then for the second element it will have a transition delay of 50, because for that we will have an index of 1, and 1 times 50 is 50. And then for the next one it will have a transition delay of 100, because the index will be 2. So 2 times 50 is 100. Right, now let's go back to our design and let's see whether everything works alright. So let's hover over this, and now we can see that the transition delay is being added to the labels. So everything is working alright. So that's basically how you can create this animated sidebar using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Right here, I'm in the dashboard of my Blogger website, and the theme that I'm using is called Contempolite, which comes by default with Blogger. And let's go ahead and open this website. So let's click on View Blog. And this is how our website looks right now. Right now, let's go ahead and add the sidebar over here on the left side. So for that, you have to go over here to this arrow and click on Edit HTML. And here you have to add your code. So first of all, let's add the CSS. So if you scroll down here, we can see that these are all the CSS code for our theme. So let's scroll down and let's go to the end of the CSS. And this is the end of the CSS code. So let's make some space over here. And here I'll just create a comment. I'll just tap custom sidebar. And now let's go to our source code. And let's go to the CSS file. And let's copy all the CSS from this line of code till the end. So let's go ahead and paste it over here. Right now, let's go ahead and paste the HTML. So let's scroll down and I'll just go to the end of the body tag. And just before the body tag ends, I'll just add the HTML. So let's go back to our source code and let's go to the HTML file. And let's copy all the HTML from here. So let's copy from this line of code till here. And let's paste it over here. And let's also paste the JavaScript. So let's create a script tag for that. And in the script tag, we will add the JavaScript. So let's go back to our source code and let's go to the main.js file and let's copy this JavaScript and let's paste it over here. Now, if you go back to your HTML file, here we can see that this is basically the content of our sidebar. So here we have the logo. And then we have the title of each of these list of links. And here we have the icon. You can go ahead and change the icon to whatever you want. And here we have the text. So the text that we see over here on the right side. And in the same way, you have all these menus displayed over here. So you can go ahead and change all this content to your needs. But now let's go back and let's go ahead and save it and let's see how it looks. Right now, let's go back to our website and let's refresh this page. And now we can see that our sidebar is being displayed, but we have some problems in the styling. So let's scroll down. And here we can see we have a lot of problems. The first thing is that this sidebar should be above all the other content. So let's go ahead and add a Z index to this. So I'll just right click over here and click on inspect. And let's select the custom sidebar. So here we have the custom sidebar. And here we can add the Z index. Let's try 300. And now we can see it is above all the other elements. Right now, the next thing we need to do is we need to fix this logo. So if you go over here to the logo, so let's open this. And here we have the logo. And if we go ahead and if we scroll down, we have some code added by the theme itself. So here we have word break and it is set to break word. And I'll just change this to normal. Now we can see a lot of things are fixed. And then we have word wrap and it is set to break word as well. So I'll just set it to normal. And now we can see that the logo is also fixed. And now everything looks all right. So if we hover over this, we can see that there are no problems. So let's go ahead and make the changes. So let's go back to our CSS. So let's scroll up. And here we have the CSS. So let's go to the container division, which is custom sidebar. And let's add a Z index. And let's set it to 300. And we need to set the other properties, which are word break, and we have to set it to normal. And we also have to set overflow wrap, and we need to set it to normal as well. Now this customization will depend on the theme that you are using. So for this theme, which is Contempolite, we need to add these two lines of CSS. Right now, let's go ahead and save it. And let's go back to our website and let's refresh this page. And now we can see everything looks all right. And we also have this glass morphic effect over here. Now, when we hover over this, we can see that the text is not displayed correctly. So let's go ahead and add a different value to the opacity. So let's go back to our code. And if we scroll down here, we can see that we have added this A hover. So here we have set the opacity to 0.2. So let's change this to, let's try 0.7 and let's see how it looks. Let's click on save. And let's go back to our website and let's refresh this page. And now if we hover over this, we can see that the text is being displayed correctly and we don't have any problems. So that's basically how you can add this animating sidebar to your Blogger website. Now this is not responsive as of now, so if you want to make it responsive, you can just add a simple button over here for this sidebar, and you can also hide this icon if you want. You can just right click over here and go to inspect and just select the icon. So this is the icon, so you can just go ahead and in the CSS you can just type display of none. And for the mobile version, you can just create a simple icon for this sidebar, and if you click on the icon, this sidebar should be displayed. So you can do that easily using JavaScript. Right, here is our source code, and let's go ahead and make this responsive. So the first thing we will do is we'll create a button to display and hide this sidebar, because when we are on the mobile version, we don't want to display even this smaller version of the sidebar. We'll just hide it altogether. So let's go ahead and create a division for that. So let's go to the HTML file, and here inside this custom sidebar, let's create a division and let's give it a class of sidebar button. Now in this we will have an icon. So let's go ahead and get the icon from heroicons.com. Right, here I'm in heroicons.com, and let's search for chevron. And let's just copy this icon right here, chevron right. So let's click on copy SVG. And let's go back and let's paste it over here inside this division. Right now we can see that this icon is displayed in the sidebar. Now we need to position this over here on the right side. So let's do that. Let's go to our style.css file and let's add some styles for that. So I'll just type custom sidebar button, and let's position this sidebar button relative to this custom sidebar. So let's tap position, and let's set it to absolute. Right now let's set the width to 26 pixels. Right now let's set the top position to 50%, and now we can see it starts from the 50% mark. So we also need to type translate y negative 50%. Now it is exactly in the center, and we need to bring it to the right side. So let's type right, and let's try 0. And now we can see it is inside this sidebar. We need to bring it outside the sidebar over here. So let's add a different value. I'll just type negative 26 pixels, which is the width of our sidebar button. And now the sidebar button is outside this custom sidebar. And if we scroll up, here we can see that we have set the overflow to hidden. So that's why it is not being displayed. So if I comment this overflow hidden, we can see that the arrow is being displayed. So let's uncomment this, and let's go to the media query. So I'll just tap at media, and let's tap max width, and I'll just set it to 600 pixels. So whenever the width of the screen is less than 600 pixels, all the CSS that we have inside this block will be added to our design. So here let's tap custom sidebar, and let's set overflow to visible. Right now let's continue styling this sidebar button. So here let's add a background color, and let's set it to 0D1B2A, and let's set the color of the icon to white. And right now it is not exactly in the center, so let's tap display of flex. Right now let's add a padding, and let's set it to 8 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. And let's also add border radius. So I'll just tap border radius, and 0, 4 pixels, 4 pixels and 0. So now we can see we have these rounded corners. And let's also set the cursor to pointer. Now here for the logo we don't have rounded corners, so let's add that. So here let's type custom sidebar, and for the logo we have a division with the class of logo. So let's tap dot logo, and here let's tap border radius, and let's set it to 10 pixels, 10 pixels, 0, 0. Right now we have the border radius displayed. Alright, now in the mobile version we won't have the option of hover. So let's set the width to 300 pixels by default. So here we can see that when we hover over it, we are setting the width to 300 pixels. So here by default we will set the width to 300 pixels. And we also need to display the labels. So here we can see in the desktop version, we are displaying the labels only when it is hovered. But in the mobile version, we need to display it always. So here, let's tap custom sidebar label and let's set it to opacity 1. And if we scroll up, here we can see that we are also moving it to translate x of 0, because by default we are setting it to translate x of negative 20 pixels. So we are moving it to the left by default. So let's scroll down and let's also reset the transform value. So here I'll just type transform, translate x 0. Right now when we hover over this, we can see that the menu title and these anchor tags move to the right. So let's stop that. So here let's type custom sidebar, and we have this division with the class of menu title. So let's tap menu title, and we need to stop moving it when we hover over it. So here we need to tap :hover. And if you scroll up here for the mobile version, here we can see when we hover over it, we are setting the padding to 0.32 pixels. But if you scroll down, here by default the padding is set to 0.20 pixels. So let's add the same padding over here. So let's tap padding 0.20 pixels. Now let's hover over this, and we have some problems in the styling, and this should be menu title. So let's change this to menu title. And now if you hover over this, we can see that the menu title doesn't move. Now let's do the same for these anchor tags over here. Let's type custom sidebar, and in that we have division with the class of menu, and in that we have anchor tag. So let's tap menu A, and here we will set the margin to 0.24 pixels. Right now let's go over here and let's hover over this, and we don't have anything moving. Now the next thing we will do is we will hide this sidebar by default. So for that, let's go back to the sidebar, and here let's tap transform, translate x, and let's set it to negative 100%. And now a little bit of the sidebar is being displayed. That's because if we scroll up, here we can see that for the desktop version, we have set the left value to 24 pixels. So here let's set the left value to 0. So let's tap left 0. And now we can see that the sidebar is completely hidden. Right now when we click on this button, we need to display the sidebar. So when we click on the button, we will add an active class to this sidebar. So here let's tap custom sidebar.active. And when it is active, let's set the transform translate x to 0. And let's go back to the HTML file, and let's try and add an active class over here. So let's tap active. And now we can see that the sidebar is being displayed. But if we remove the active class, the sidebar is not being displayed. Right now let's add the functionality of adding and removing the active class when we click on this button using JavaScript. So we have this button called sidebar btn. So let's go to the main.js file, and here let's tap const sidebar button equals document.querySelector, and let's tap custom sidebar button. And we also need to target the sidebar because we need to add and remove the active class. So let's tap const custom sidebar equals document.querySelector, and let's tap custom sidebar. Right now let's add an event listener to this sidebar button. So let's tap sidebar button.add event listener, and let's listen for the click event. Let's create an arrow function over here. Now here we simply need to add and remove the active class from the custom sidebar. So let's tap custom sidebar .classList.toggle active, and now let's click on this sidebar button, and now we can see that the sidebar is being displayed. And if I click on this button once again, it is hidden. So everything is working all right. So that's basically how you can make this sidebar responsive. Let's also check the desktop version and let's see whether we have any problems. And this is the desktop version, and we don't have any problems in the desktop version. Everything works all right. Right now, let's add this responsiveness code to our Blogger website. Right here, I'm in the dashboard of my Blogger website, and if I open the website, in the previous video, I had shown you how to add this to our Blogger website. And now let's go ahead and add the updated code over here so that it becomes responsive. So right now, if we decrease the width of the browser window, it is not responsive. So let's add the updated code over here. So let's go to theme, and let's click on this arrow, and let's click on edit HTML. And let's scroll down, and here we have the CSS of the theme. So let's scroll down, and here we have the custom CSS that we added. So let's add the updated CSS over here. Let's go back to our code, and let's go to the CSS file. And the updated code starts from here all the way till the end. And let's copy all of this, and let's paste it over here. And we also need to add the changes that we made in the JavaScript and the HTML. So let's go to the HTML file. And we had added this sidebar button. So let's copy this. And let's scroll down. And we had added the HTML just before the body tag ends. And here, let's go ahead and paste the code for the sidebar button. And now let's also copy the JavaScript. So let's go back over here, and let's copy this updated code, and let's paste it over here inside the script tag. Right now, let's save this, and let's see whether it works. Let's go back to our website, and let's refresh this page. And we don't have any problems in the desktop version. Let's go to the mobile version. And here we can see for the mobile version, we have this sidebar button. And if I click on that, we have the sidebar displayed. So everything is working all right. Now we can also remove this icon from here if you want. So you can just right click over here and click on inspect. And let's inspect the selector. So here we have this button, and we have this class of hamburger menu. So let's copy this, and let's go back to the CSS. And here let's paste the selector, and I just type display, and let's set it to none, and let's click on save. All right, now let's go back to our website, and let's refresh this page. And now we can see that the hamburger menu is not being displayed. So that's basically how you can add this custom sidebar to your Blogger website. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. And if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.